Okay, so you guys will need paper and pencil for this, so if you could just take a second and get that out. This is a lot of information that's going to come at you really fast, so it really would give you to take notes. So you guys are ready? Oh, also, there will be a piece of trivia embedded in this lesson, and you'll get a bonus point on the assessment if you can remember it and write it down on the back of the group sheet that is on the table. But don't look at it yet, because we're not there yet. Okay, can you guys, just looking at this picture, I'm going to show you some more. See the common literary element between these pictures. All right, so I'm going to show it to you. Give me a second. Confer. This is entirely group driven, and I'll ask you again. Okay, so I'll show you again. Take a second with your group. See if you're trying to see what I'm getting at.
You know what it is because he's
do you want to
like,
guess it?
but I was going to say, like, oh, they're probably enemies. Yeah.
Do you want to be like 8th graders with
Yes,
this?
yeah,
Okay.
sure. Yeah. Right.
Cool.
Okay.
We're
You
gonna
guys have an answer or a guess?
Yeah.
Are they all enemies?
Not all of them, as you can see. I did include Harry Potter and Neville Longbottom, who are friends, but they do fall into the same category.
Are they?
Does anybody else have a guess?
They're like opposites.
That is a good word for it. There is a more academic and literary word for it. Has anybody ever heard of the word foil?
Like in math class?
No, not in math class, because that is a way to do equations, and this is a way to bring out contrast in elements in literature. I'm showing you these because they are very visual elements of contrast. But it's not always characters, and foil does not stop there. Generally, foil means, a foil is an element that brings out contrast in another element. Foils bring out contrast in each other. And they can contrast in different ways and to different degrees, but they do really emphasize the contrast. It usually either differs dramatically, such in the case as of Batman and Joker. They are complete opposites. One is very much the straight man, very serious. The other one definitely is not. Thank you. But also, you have people who are extremely similar to each other, but they have one defining characteristic that brings out the contrast. In this specific one, it's a little niche. Thank you. But they are very similar to each other, but one is more courageous than the other. And they have a lot of elements, but that is the main difference. And a foil can be between individuals, as you see here. But one thing that is not talked about a lot is there are foils of groups of people. And one good example of this, because Hunger Games is really hot right now, the Capitol and District 13 are foils of each other. One is self-made, they support themselves, they're off the radar, they live underground, while you have the other one, which is the exact opposite of the Capitol, they are very extravagant and outward, and they don't do any work themselves. So this is an example from Star Wars. These are the rebels. They're very ragtag. They're not wearing the same uniform. They all have different styles, but they fight the Empire, who are all dressed in white and bland and uniform, and they come into conflict. Can anybody tell me why a writer or an author would use a foil, besides just emphasizing specific characteristics in characters or groups of people?
Well, it kind of will help with the plot. Like, there might be a reason why they're fighting, and you're trying to get to, like, an end. Like, who's going to win type of thing or
That
something.
does follow under antagonism, and that is one purpose an author may use. Because when you have two very different elements, they can't help but come into conflict again and again and again. And the more extreme the contrast, the richer the story is often.
I just feel like when a character has a foil, it helps that character with like self-discovery.
Absolutely. There is a bit of symbolism also involved. Let's say we talked about it in another class for Katniss. There are two foils, also in Hunger Games, between Peeta and Gale. Right? But they are her love interest to a certain extent, but they also represent parts of her. The contrast between them also exists within her. So you can have that symbolism in the outside world reflect back to a character. And oftentimes it does come back to characters or groups of characters. But the third type of foil, which I did skip over briefly, are types of stories. You know, most stories, whether it be movies or TV or books, they have a main plot and they'll have a subplot. Whoever has seen Love Actually? Actually? Okay.
Yeah.
So, in most of the stories, most of the main plot are very romantic stories.
They're all.
And it's just like a really nice looking guy chasing after a girl and trying to be a gentleman. And that is the majority of the movie. There's an actual foil in that movie to the main plot, which is the really sort of skeevy British guy who goes to America and is not charming and just tries to sleep with a bunch of women. So they are in sharp contrast to each other, and that foil brings out the richness and also sort of the niceness in the A-plot. You treasure the A-plot, the romantic side, more, having seen the sort of bad, skeevy side. Vivid imagery is also used by authors, and that can make characters stand out. These don't stand out, but if you look at the rebels, they each stand out in their own way. So I'm going to provide you with a character description. And as a group, you're going to come back to me in just a minute with what you think might be a foil of that character. So I'm going to describe this to you, and there are plenty of wrong answers, but there's not just one right answer. So confer. Okay, so we have a female who is 16 with 2 parents, both doting, a hyperactive brother. She has all A's. She loves school. She drives a new black car, is very aggressive. She's a type A personality. And one day, she discovers she's the daughter of a queen, who's actually a princess. So confer for like 30 seconds to a minute. Come back to me with what you think a foil of that character might be.
Oh wait, this isn't a thing that actually.
It doesn't actually exist, because there's no one right answer. There are so many elements of a character that you can choose to build a foil on. Some don't.
Sure.
I did too. But
So I feel like a character that would be like,
if
what would be,
maybe her a younger brother, or like maybe a best friend who is like
I was thinking like a friend character.
That would
Like
be-
this friend would definitely be like,
all the wild
or
party
an
best
orphan
friend.
maybe.
Yeah. Maybe more passive, because
Right.
she's aggressive.
Yeah,
Like
like
kinda-
massive, type B personality. But I also like female. I feel like a lot of foil characters are the same sex.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
you know.
Female, same age though too as well. But orphan is kind of what we talked about.
10 more seconds.
And then she was more passive.
So like us, maybe.
Yeah. And then B type.
Okay.
Child.
So who would like to be the spokesman for the group and tell me what you think one possible foil of that character might be?
Okay, so we came up with a female 16-year-old who is an orphan.
Okay.
She has a passive personality, so she's type B, and she's an only child, and she just happens to be the friend of the character you suggested.
Right. Okay, so that is a possible foil. They do contrast with each other, and you see that a lot on TV shows. We've also talked about, one example is Hannah Montana. Hannah is, you know, very bubbly, but also sort of a nice country girl, and she has a friend, I forget, who can tell me, Lily?
Lily,
Yes.
sure.
Okay, and she's a skater chick, and she's tough, and she's not super girly. So, but they bring out the best in each other, and they complement each other, yin and yang. So what you described is a really good element. I think you could have taken it a step further and said that there are definitely right answers, but another right answer would have been she also discovers she's a princess, or the other girl is the other daughter of that queen. You know, they share certain elements to each other. But there are elements in my description that definitely don't work. Can anybody tell me what you wouldn't build a foil off of some of the things I listed?
Like another straight A student.
They could be, okay, because there are 2 main types of foils. One is the exact opposite, which would be sort of what you guys described. That's fair. And then you have the type like Harry Potter and Neville, who are very, very similar to each other, but they have one key difference. And that difference makes all the difference, you know? It makes the contrast so sharp because it sort of shows you the road not taken. And that is often why twins are used in stories, or siblings are used in stories, or say the Prince and the Piper, that sort of thing. So you wouldn't want to build a foil off of, say, her hyperactive brother, because you want it to come internally from her characteristics. The parents weren't necessarily important. The fact that they were loving was. So she could have parents, but if they maybe wouldn't be as loving as hers. So there are so many directions you can go for it, but they all serve to really emphasize the characteristics of both of the foils. Whether they be characters or groups or organizations or buildings or anything you want to do, because they have so many contrasts possible in stories. So we're going to start our assessment now. I put a sheet out on the paper, and you as a group will write a brief paragraph that defines foils, cites its 3 major applications, like what embody foils,
Okay.
and I will go back through the slides if you want me to, and you will note 1 use of foil for author use, like why they would employ it. Feel free to use your notes, and on the back, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't give you the trivia. I'll go ahead and give it to you now. They call it foil because foil used to be wrapped around gems to make their sparkle brighter. So it's not necessarily built off map, but it is actually from tinfoil. Not a lot of people really acknowledge that. They think it's some sort of classic element. And contrast is, of course, timeless, but foil itself is relatively new. So as a group, you guys will write that paragraph.
I think you can stop.
Okay.
Because if you're not gonna come back and do.
Yeah, it's just like, because I would go over it, but I don't think we have time.
Yeah.
How many minutes is that?
So don't trust me. I don't know. That's not right. Go look at the recording and stop it.
Oh my gosh, okay. Okay.
We need to do his assignment.
That was 11 minutes.
Oh.
It was pretty good.
Okay, that's good.
We do need to do his assignment because.
It's an
Do you get
artifact.
from this lesson?
Yeah, I think so.
Probably. Do you
I don't,
have
she
one?
didn't say that. I don't really have.
I mean,
I can add one.
I can
my
fake it.
artifacts don't really count for
Yeah,
most.
because yours were on like whiteboard.
Yeah.
It was more like in
On the
class.
rubric, it
You
doesn't
have
say
the, but you
anything
have the
about
artifacts recorded though. So I feel like
Yeah.
that kind of counts.
Yeah, that's true. Plus, I looked at the rubric and it didn't say.
Yeah, because it's like
So real quick, let's do his assignment so he has the artifacts.
Okay.
As a group, write a brief paragraph that defines foil. So first of all, foil
So bring
or
up
foils are 2 elements. I'm not sure I'm writing. My handwriting's awful. Someone else write this. Are 2 elements that bring out contrast in another, or in each other.